Hello, welcome to this week's video. I want to start this off by saying one thing. I love Dick Grayson, that is. Okay, so I announced this video previously and we're gonna make it. So yeah, quick introduction here. Of course, this is gonna be a video about Mr. Grayson, Mr. Nightwing, Mr. First Robin, Mr. Became Batman for a while, and that run was actually pretty peak. So yeah. Anyway, so this hyperfixation started because I was drawing him a lot and I realized, hey, you know what would be fun? Why don't I actually familiarize myself with him more? Because there's barely any media that feature him that's actually considered good, media that's considered him good as our character, and that's actually gonna be a topic that we're gonna talk about later. So the run I'm currently reading is Peter J. Tomasi's run. I finished Chuck Dixon, and then after I finish Peter J. Tomasi, I'm gonna skip over to Rebirth. The reason I skipped over to Rebirth is because I want to read more modern stuff, and then I'll stop reading Rebirth when we get to the Rick Grayson stuff, and then I'll go over to Tom Taylor, and I'll just since I already know what happens in most of Tom Taylor's run, I'll just read what the volumes that I don't know what happens. I think it's the Standing at Edge volume, and there's one before that I haven't read. But yeah, and then after that, I'm going to start the current run. But since it's an ongoing run, of course, I'm not going to have something to read all the time. So then, while I read that, I'm going to go back to New 52, read the New 52 run, and then start on the Agent Grayson era. And then after that, I may go back to the parts of the original run that I haven't read. Because I skipped from Chuck Dixon to Peter J. Tomasi because that's what everybody told me to, but then some people have been telling me to that some parts of the runs in between are worth reading, so I'll just do it when I'm towards the end. So yeah, the hyperfixation is strong with this one. Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad. You know that thing that some people do where they associate a song with a character? Yeah, that's happening. And you know me, you know who probably made the artist behind these songs, because you know me. But actually, before I talk about this, in the recent music video that Mariah made, there's some allegations she might have used AI for some part, and that's not the greatest thing ever. So I'm gonna ignore those allegations because I don't really care about that song. So yeah. Anyway, of course I'm gonna associate him with two Mariah songs. I'm always on brand. Also, he's that chick. No, one of the songs isn't that chick. So, the first one is Close My Eyes. Close My Eyes is a song they associate with a lot of bad family members, mainly Batman, Oracle, and right now I'm talking about it, Nightwing, because it's all about dealing with unresolved trauma and stuff. Yeah, I love Close My Eyes. It's basically just a free therapy session. And the other one is the actual, what I think of as his theme song, which is from the Charmers album. It's Boy, I Need You. And I don't know what that says about me, but I really don't want to know. Because the music video of the song is pretty bad. So whenever I just listen to the song, in my head, this animatic plays that a much more talented person could make. So the first thing I want to talk about is characterization. So here is how we're going to do this. If you ask a non-comic reader, a casual fan, to describe him as a character, you'll probably get three main traits, which is charismatic, a heart of gold, and a great leader. Now, for a casual comic reader, we'll just say that they haven't read his solo run. We'll say that they've read parts that they like. We'll just say a Tom Taylor, because that's the most popular version, the most popular run. So they would probably use the same things we just used, but they would also add the fact that he's kind of supposed to be Batman's greatest achievement, and for a nice version of Batman, you know, well, as nice as a person beats up people could be. And now, if you ask a diehard comic fan, this is me basically mixing what I think and what I've seen other people think. He's basically all the things I would just describe, but he isn't just that. He's also very intelligent, emotionally, and in terms of detective stuff. And he's also a person who's a loner, a very person who's in his mind a lot. Although he has a lot of friends and a lot of supporting cast members, he's always just in his own little world a lot of the time. So now I'm gonna talk about a bunch of adaptations and see how they handle all of these characteristics. We have noticed none of these descriptions are wrong descriptions. They're all very good descriptions, and I think we need to look at how it's been handled in the past. So the first incarnation we're gonna look at is I think the first one, the first adaptation we got, that being like the DCAU version. Now this version, I don't know if it's like he doesn't have as much screen time as like the best incarnations in this universe, like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But I don't like him. Basically, that's the gist of it. I don't like him. He's just like too like broody, and not broody in like a good way, broody in like a bad way. Also, like the voice doesn't fit, like it fits Robin, but it doesn't fit Nightwing. So, and that's like a hard thing in when it comes to voice acting. Like you need to balance to like find a voice actor that can do both. And if you're gonna do like the transition. And also, I don't like his design. I just don't like this design. Like as like other aspects, like as a fighter, he's fine, and like other things are just like, fine. He's not the worst. So our next incarnation is like the incarnation that a lot of people consider the best, and personally, I don't consider him the best, but I can see what like people see in him. It's the Young Justice adaptation, and I think two reasons why people really like this one. Not only do we actually like see him like as like a good fighter, because that's like something that another incarnation I'm gonna talk about right after this one ignores, and also I think it's because it's the one where like we actually saw him grow, although we skipped the most important part of the growth, which is like the transition, but still. Now the reason why I don't like him is mainly like the leadership thing. Like, okay, I only watched bits and pieces of season 3 and 4, but in season 2, like, he is such a terrible leader. Like, he didn't reveal like Aqualad's mission to like the other guys, and he also like put them in danger so many times, and I only feel like he really got like called out on it by Superboy and Kid Flash. And that was one of the greatest scenes. We have Wally finally like blowing up at this man. What I was thinking about while watching this,
we got caught in the debris field from the explosion.
Do you even hear yourself? What if even one of you had been left behind, huh? Why take that risk? Why go to such extremes? Wasn't that why he murdered Artemis?
I guess it didn't convince everyone.
You guess?
The cave was just a place worth sacrificing if it helps us stop the invasion. Look, I'm sorry you lost all your souvenirs.
Are you serious? I don't care about that junk. I'm worried about Artemis. Terrified for her.
and too bad that the next time we saw Wally, he, you know what happened. He died. And then the next reason is just like a weird reason. I don't know, like the voice. Okay, like the voice actor, I think he's voiced by Jesse McCarthy. Yeah, the voice fits Robin. Like the same thing that we just said. The voice fits Robin, but like it doesn't fit like the older. It doesn't fit Nightwing like at all. So yeah, that's the other reason. Now the next incarnation is actually my personal favorite incarnation, although it's very flawed. I can admit it's very flawed, but it's still my favorite because I have a soft spot for it. It's the DCAMU version. Now the reason I love this incarnation so much is because I feel like we got all sides of his character here. We get the charismatic side, we get like the brooding side, and he actually is allowed to have a partner in this, unlike a certain slut we just talked about. Anyway, yeah, I really like his personality. The voice is perfect. Like, I don't know who the voice actor is. For some reason, I literally can't find it. It's hard to find. I found it one day, but then I can't remember the name of the guy. But yeah, the voice is perfect. Anyway, but he comes with a fair share of issues. Now the main thing people talk about this incarnation is like, why is this dude like getting manhandled like every 5 seconds? Why is he so weak? Like, come on, like that's like, I think that the problem of like having the what are they called? The Robins or the Bat Boys. I'll call them the Bat Boys because that's funny. Having them be a part of Batman's life like this much, that you kind of have to use them as like father to like show how powerful let's say the villain is. And that's the problem, that he's used as like the father, and like he had a terrible ending. I just mentioned that like his relationship with like Corey is like a positive. Well, also it's a negative because I just realized something. Like, you think about the scenes between these two in the entire universe, and they're like fun scenes, but then you realize all these two talk about is just like how horny they are for each other. Like, where did these two do anything else in this universe? Come on. Anyway, the final issue that I have is sort of like a thing that I think plagues most Nightwing incarnations, is that he's like sort of like portrayed, in my opinion, like way too close to Batman, and that's why I feel like Nightwing needs the Titans in, if he's ever gonna be using the universe, or just give him, or just put him like Bloodhaven or something. That's like the problem. Like, he's like too like close to Batman. Now the final one I'm gonna talk about is the Wayne Family Adventures. Now Wayne Family Adventures, guys, I don't know, is a web comic, a webtoon about the Bat Family. It's very good. It's like very wholesome, very laid back, and actually I noticed this is like a pretty controversial adaptation of him. Like I've seen some people say they like him, some people say they can't stand him. The reason I've seen people don't like him is because he's sort of portrayed as like a himbo man-child, which to me is like the worst headcanon that's ever happened to him. But I read the first 2 seasons. I haven't read season 3, but not gonna lie, I don't see it. Like, there's only like 2 times where I see it, and one was in number 99, where, if I remember correctly, it was something about how Duke was being kidnapped and was giving him advice, and that's where I see the man-child thing. And the other time I saw it was in 111, the Haley issue, which I was actually really enjoying, but they sort of like caught me off guard, the scene, because he's just portrayed as stupid. So, but the other, he actually stars in 2 of my favorite issues. One is the solo issue where he like talks to a little girl about loss and stuff, and the other one is the field test issue, which is the Wally cameo. And not gonna lie, I actually think that's my favorite one, because it's sort of like it scratches the urge for like Titans webcomic that's like Wayne Family Adventures. I wonder if that's me teasing a video concept I have running around in my head. Who knows? So yeah, I think Wayne Family Adventures, this incarnation is mine. Cause everybody in Wayne Family Adventures is supposed to like be like play a familial role, and he's sort of like the smug older brother that everybody has. So yeah, I think it fits. I don't think it's bad, since it is like a simplified version of the universe. Of course, he's not gonna be like as deep or as developed as like the regular version. So I think I noticed the issue with all these adaptations, that we sort of like skip development, and that's why I think that's Dick's strong suit as a character, but also his weakness when it comes to adaptations, that he is one of the few characters that actually grow with the reader. We see his early days with Batman and stuff like that, then we see his rebellious teenage years when he joins the Titans, then we see his early adulthood when he first starts Bloodhaven, and we sort of like see like this evolution of his character, where he goes from like a goofy kid, then sort of like a rebellious teenager, but still a heart of gold, and then we see that heart of gold develop later on to becoming one of his main characteristics. Then for a while he sort of becomes like just as obsessed with justice as Batman, and then he sort of like mellows out, and that's like, I think, his development, that he sort of like becomes this his development is that he sort of like learns how to balance everything. And the problem is that it isn't a bad development, it's that most incarnations start him off already having that development, because they haven't done the groundwork to reach that development. That's what I think personally. So I don't think it's Flanderization, because Flanderization would be like taking his characteristics and simplifying them to like making him a stereotype. And but this is, I think it's a simplification of a story. And also, a bunch of these adaptations like sort of like lack edge, and even like for a while in comics he also lacked edge. But I think currently, with like the current run by Dan Watters, I think he got his edge back. But I wish more people talked about that run. I haven't read it, much of it, because I haven't gotten to it, but I read parts of it. It's really good. But I think it's like sort of like overshadowed by like Tom Taylor's run, because it isn't that Tom Taylor's run is better, is that Tom Taylor's run isn't really like a normal comic run. It's a run that celebrates him as a character because of what had happened recently, to like bring him back as a character after what happened with the whole Rick Grayson thing. But I think comparing both runs is like apples to oranges, because they're like so different, like even in terms of like art direction, because Tom Taylor's run had Bruno Redondo, and in the current Dan Watters one, we have
Dexter Soy. I almost forgot his name for a second. But yeah, I'm not saying that both are that and a certain artist is better, a certain writer is better, but they're different. That's what I'm trying to say. I love both of these artists and writers. And it's sort of like the art thing reminds me of when we first got the solo run, because before the solo run, I mean, we had like the miniseries, but I don't really count that because miniseries isn't really that good. But before the solo run, like I personally consider like the most iconic artist to draw this character to be George Perez, and the contrast between George Perez's art and then the main artist through most of that, or the first run, Chuck Dixon's run, the main artist was Scott McDaniel, and the contrast here really like it's like, to quote George Lucas, it's like poetry almost, right? It's like the exact same like contrast. Now I wanna talk about our conclusion that I sort of like came to after like conceptualizing this entire video, because I never like thought of the reason why I'm such a big fan of this character. But then I realized something. Nightwing, Robin, Dick Grayson, Agent 37, whatever you want to call him, he's sort of like what every person wishes they could be seen as. Now, allow me to explain. So, he's seen as attractive but not vain, intelligent but not overbearing, social but is allowed to have his own personal space, and a good leader, but still allowed to get help from others if needed. And I think that's like a very positive and great characterization, that you can be strong, you can be everything, but you still get help from the people around you. You can be alone, but you still have the people around you, And that's why I think this character has such a big following, and why I adore him so much. Now, before I show you the spread and I sign off, I kind of want to talk about live action casting. I bet it can be a shit show, because you can either get someone who's like an accurate of race. If you don't know, Nightwing's like part Romani, but you could get someone who's like accurate of race. But then the whole thing about like, oh, he's been portrayed as Caucasian through most of his life, all that stupid stuff. But yeah, I'm fine if the actor's good. That's all I care about. And now let us look at the spread. So first up, we just have a drawing of him, of course. Then we have Disco Wing doing the Thriller lean. Then we got one where he's like really effed up. Then we have a handstand. That was fun. I got that from Wayne Family Adventures. Then we got another dynamic pose, Agent 37. And then we have just spreading his wings, I guess. And then we have my favorite arc, one of my favorites in the spread, the civilian design. So that ends this video. This was super fun to make. I really want to make more character analysis like this. So yeah, see you guys next time.